Hey, welcome to the continuing, it's not the winemaker series, it is the wine blogger series here at Wine of the Month Club, and we're very excited to introduce Mary Orlin.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great, Paul. How are you?
Glad you're here. And she walked in, and I kind of recognized her, and then we started talking, and I realized that she was host of, or producer of,
Executive
Wine Country.
producer.
Wine Country?
In Wine Country.
In Wine Country, right. And we were the main club for that program, and she's moved on to other things, and now she has the website Fashionista.
Wine Fashionista.
Winefashionista.com. See, what's wrong with me?
I need some wine.
That's right. We're going to do that too. It's a great site. We've been members, so to speak, for years, and we've been watching what she's been doing and fascinated by your articles.
Thanks.
And not the least of which is Sniffapalooza.
Sniffapalooza, yes.
And tell us about Sniffapalooza.
Sniffapalooza. Well, first of all, I have to tell you that I'm obsessed with perfume as much as I am with wine.
Okay, so.
And so that's where it comes from. And years ago, Sniffapalooza started as a small group in New York City. Two friends, they call them the Karens, both named Karen, started this group, and they started holding perfume events where either perfume companies, especially the smaller niche companies, would come and present their new perfumes or new releases. And this growing group of perfume lovers just started taking on this amazing influence in the industry. So it's grown to a group of about 5,000 members worldwide. But they would always have these great events in New York City, like a master class with a perfumer or the nose behind the label, or a blending session. And I always wanted to go. So a couple of years ago, I said, okay, wherever they go this coming year, because they always do a big international trip, I said, I'm going. And I was fortunate that the destination was Grasse in Provence.
Wow.
And that's kind
pretty
of
cool.
the world headquarters for the perfume industry. So many of the big fragrance companies, IFF, Mon, Givaudan, they all have factories there, and labs. So Sniffapalooza is able to get us into the factories to meet with the noses and to get a tour.
That's that's pretty amazing access, right?
Because, you know, the perfume industry is really secretive.
Yes, it is.
So what was really great was the first factory we walked into, we got to see the whole production line. Well, it's just like a winery. They bring in the raw materials. The day that we were there, they happened to be bringing in, I forget what kind of flowers, but and then they were processing them, and then they had to go through kind of an extraction or fermentation, if you will. But
right, yes.
then once they get what they call the juice, then they have to put it in stainless steel tanks, and they kind of age it,
right? So it's a distillate, so to speak, right?
Well, there's several processes. There's a distillation, there's extraction, and there's something called enfleurage, which is an old technique. But it was fascinating, so it just kind of hit me. It's really similar to wine.
It is.
Like a winery. And then the more I learned about the aromas and smelling the perfumes, it really seemed like the aromatics really spoke to me as much as the aromatics in wine. And learning to smell perfume and being able to identify different aromatic scents helps me with wine.
Yeah, it's very interesting because people, why don't you put your glass up?
Absolutely.
Often when I go to Macy's or wherever, Nordstrom's, and I smell some of the perfumes and I give them a description, they go, hey, how'd you know that? And I say, well, I'm in the wine business, and I think there's a huge crossover, sort of Venn diagram of that. So, in fact, I was telling Mary off camera that we found a bunch of our old wines from the 70s and 80s, and you'll be seeing some of those video clips. And as soon as I saw the labels, I remembered the smell. It's such a memorable, the sense, right?
It really is. Your sense of smell is more powerful than your sense of taste, because if you didn't have your sense of smell, we wouldn't really taste anything. I mean, your tongue can only perceive bitter, sweet, salty, and sour.
Right, that's right.
But to get the florals, to get the fruit, that comes from your sense of smell. So wine wouldn't be as enjoyable
without the smell. In fact, sometimes
the nose on this is just so
Isn't
beautiful.
that great?
Wow.
This is so she asked, why don't we taste a wine that has a lot of aromatics, a wine that would be a Viognier, a Roussanne, a Marsanne, one of these guys, and they happen to be from the south of France as well. And this is a white Côte d'Aron, and I mean it's a Ventoux actually. Yeah, it's a Ventoux. And so yeah, the tropical nose.
The tropical nose is really amazing. Kind of the pineapple, the guava that really comes out. And you also get the white flowers, so you get some of the a little bit of honeysuckle, some jasmine.
Some stone peach, stone fruit.
Absolutely.
But what's interesting about these wines, and they always confuse me anyway, including Viogniers and some of them, they're dry.
Yes.
But you get this opulent
You
nose,
do.
and then you go, oh,
And
this is kind of dry.
once you taste it, it's
Right.
very dry, but you still get that rich, at least with this wine, it's going to be a very rich taste on your palate.
This actually will open up as time goes on. This wine's still closed. This is from our friends
Very nice.
at Plume Ridge Importers, one of the main importers for Trader Joe's, actually, but not a Trader Joe's wine. So,
It doesn't taste like it. Well, there's some gems to be found at Trader Joe's.
Oh,
There
we
really
love
are.
them.
Absolutely.
we have Bob Burney, who passed away a few years ago, the original wine buyer for Joe Cologne, was a good friend of the Wine of the Month clubs, and he's the guy that would find these gems, right? They went more to it. Their inventory is more stable now than it used to be. It used to be really. Now we talked about this off camera,
Yes.
and this is, and you had never tasted one,
I've
so
never
we got a chance to
tasted a
do that.
Mencia wine.
Mencia, and we were discussing this earlier. That's not Mencia, even though it's spelled like it. It's Mencia, and what I love about these kinds of things is,
Look at the color.
yeah, it's an indigenous grape. We don't grow it here.
Yeah, right.
And you
Most
can't
people don't know it.
Right, and you can't compare it.
No.
You can't say this tastes like Syrah,
Right.
right?
Right, and you don't want it to. I mean,
Right, exactly.
That's what's so fun about wine is there's so many different varietals that people are discovering now. Like the white Rhone that we just had has Grenache Blanc in it, and that's become one of my favorite
Isn't that
grapes.
great
And
grape?
a few years ago, I didn't know about Grenache Blanc, but it's fun now, and people are starting to learn about it. Look at the color on this. Wow.
Isn't that gorgeous? And so it has the berries,
Oh,
and that nose,
yes,
the
it's
spice.
so earthy.
Love, it's so fun.
Yeah.
And the story's funny. It came to me from a neighborhood, the local neighborhood Christmas party last year, two or 3 years ago. And the gentleman came up to me. He goes, "Hey, I heard you're in the wine business. My cousin has farms in Spain,
It's nice.
Ribera de Sacra, which is upper northwest of Spain, kind of obscure area. Not a lot of wine comes from there that we get anyway. Usually we get Rioja and
Right.
the regular stuff. But isn't that fun?
This is fun, and it's really delicious, and it doesn't have the big tannins that, say, a Tempranillo has.
I get a new black
I like
fruit, all
this.
kinds of berries in
Lots
that.
of black fruit. A little pepper spice.
Yes, I agree. And this is their, I guess this is their reserve, if you were to call it that. We have also featured their regular Mencia. And,
That's delicious.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's easy drinking. How much a bottle does this sell for?
I think it's like
Isn't that
$12.99.
amazing? it's really well made. It's got nice structure. It's fun.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
And that's why, that's why you love this industry,
Absolutely.
right? Because you get to try things that you wouldn't have tried before.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you say on winefashionista.com that you in your bio you talk about Rhone varietals.
Yes.
And has that always been the case, or is it something
no,
that you?
it's just something maybe in the past 5-6 years. The more I've learned about them, I think Viognier is my favorite white.
Is it really? Oh, that's
and,
great.
I love the Northern Rhone Syrahs. They're great, and I love Grenache.
Well, it seems like, and maybe you've seen this in your travels, but people start with first of all they don't always start with red wine. They start with white wine, and then they move into reds, and they start with the Bordeaux varietals, the Merlots, and the Cabs, and then they learn about Pinot Noir, and then we come to
Yeah.
the Rhone varietals, right?
And I think the Rhone varietals, whether they're grown in the Rhone Valley or in this country, just very interesting and different. I'm not a big Cabernet Sauvignon person. I used to be a Chardonnay person.
Chardonnay, I like it. I've never heard that one. That's really good.
Or ABC, anything but Chardonnay.
Right.
But in the past year or two, I've been finding some really great Chardonnays, especially in California, that aren't the big oak butter bombs that they used to be.
Yes.
The winemakers are coming around to balance and more leaner styles where the fruit's there, there's minerality.
You're absolutely right
Much
on with
better.
that, and we see that here in
Yeah,
our tastings.
That's great.
We're more into stainless steel, less malolactic, and really the character of the fruit
Yeah,
now,
right.
not the character of the barrel it was in, right? Well, this came to us. You're actually You know, you're on the cutting edge today because
Oh,
we haven't
awesome.
released this wine yet,
I love that.
and we're the first in America to have it.
This is beautiful.
Wonderful vendor in Corona, no less, but very French, lovely French woman and her husband, and she does the wine and he does motorcycles. And I just think this is so classic for what it's trying to be. This is the Côte Domaine de Polverel. It's a Rhone varietal, a Rhone wine from, I think, old vines as well.
It's got that really
Yeah.
nice depth of fruit. You've got the red fruits from the strawberry, from the Grenache.
Isn't that great, the nose?
It really is. There's
You
the
know-
earthiness from the Syrah.
Sometimes I think this, she's a certified sommelier, and so she's been through rigorous training, and we know how excruciatingly, I've read the test, I've never taken
Oh,
it,
gosh, no.
and as well as a master of wine test, which is like
Oh
incredibly
my gosh,
difficult.
that's
Another level, right?
it's totally another level. I so admire the people who have achieved
Isn't it
that.
something?
It is
Yeah.
really amazing.
We've had a few in here. There's one local, Peter Kopp, who sells out South African wines. We used to do a lot of business with him. But when you go to a restaurant and somebody serves you a wine,
Right.
and quite often I just need to smell it because of our stature of business. We've done so much of it. And often some sommeliers or the wine host still waits, and I tell them it's fine, and
Yeah.
they still wait for me to taste it. I'm like, I don't need to taste it because I
Same
can
here.
tell, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that funny?
Because I think it's been so ingrained in us that we have to taste it to make sure it's okay. But really, what you're doing when you're smelling the wine, what either the wine server or sommelier is waiting for is for you to say, it's okay, it's not corked.
Right. And you can get that in the nose,
You
right?
totally get that in the nose, and I do the same thing. I just sniff it and I put it down and I say, it's
fine.
great.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
you.
So I went to a restaurant the other night in Pasadena. Not the other night, it was a while ago. I won't go back, actually. Sommelier recommends a wine, and he brings it, and I know the wine. I had just tasted it recently, and I liked it when I tasted it. And the guy was fair; it was like $50. And the next one, we ordered another bottle, and it was corked. It was clearly corked. My brother-in-law, who's not a wine guy, goes, "This smells funny." And I said, "You're right, it's corked." So I called the guy over. I said, "This wine's corked." "No, it's not," he said. Because this is a $50
gosh.
one, right?
Yeah.
So he pours another glass. He opens a fresh bottle for the
Okay.
table next door. They taste it. They drink it. I said, "Bring me a glass of that."
Right.
I go, "Now smell these two." He goes, "That's not corked." So I said, "Okay, fine." So then he goes, "But you can have the rest of this bottle," which was from
Really?
the other
Isn't
table.
that nice?
Isn't that super? Well, I got so mad because I came back here and I got on the computer, which I showed you, and they had offered the wine here for like $7,
Oh, really?
and he was charging me 50,
50.
and he couldn't come to grips with giving me another
Yeah.
bottle.
You
Isn't that
know,
annoying?
Customer service is everything. And we were talking about how long you've been in the business, and one thing you really owe that to is your really personal,
No, totally.
customer service is so important in the wine world. Wine's so intimidating. Why make it more of an intimidating experience than it should be? I mean, after all, part of my training as a certified sommelier, and certainly for a master sommelier, is customer service, and your guest is the most important thing, and you are there to serve the guest. And after all, it's a great experience that we want you to have with wine. We want you to come back and try it again and enjoy it and learn and love it. But, some sommeliers don't get that message.
They don't get it.
I was in Australia, in Sydney, at a restaurant, and ordered a wine. I was having salmon that night, and I wanted to have a white wine with it. And the sommelier said, "No, you need to have red with this." And I was like, "I don't feel like drinking red tonight. I'm going to have a white." And we went back and forth. He was so obnoxious about it that I said, "Okay, you know what? I'm not even ordering wine tonight."
Wow.
I was that upset. And so
That's amazing.
Halfway through me and my husband having our entrees, he comes with a glass of wine like this, and he just kind of slams it in front of me. It's like, "This is what you need to be drinking with your dish." And I'm like, "Okay."
Wow.
So, I tried it. It was fine, but I wasn't going to order a glass. I mean, just on principle. But
That's terrible.
would I ever go
That's
back?
terrible.
I mean, no.
In fact, one of the best meals I've ever had it was at a Pinot Noir festival, and they were serving Chardonnay with their waffled salmon over oak fire. I mean, what's wrong with salmon and
Yeah.
white wine?
Nothing.
I don't think so.
Absolutely nothing, yeah.
So what's the next step with this? You're a certified sommelier. To
Right.
get a master sommelier, what's the next step?
So there's a step in between called advanced sommelier.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of self-study. I think it takes, it can take a couple of years to do that.
Wow.
Master, and that involves, with the exams, there's 3 parts. There's theory, which is knowledge of wines, of regions, and the higher you go up, the more obscure those regions and the
They get
knowledge and
tinier
the
and tinier. Wow.
varietals are. You have to know the soil types, the climates, all these
Wow.
things. Producers, small producers, big producers. And then there is the service component of it. So you have to actually conduct proper service for formal restaurant dining. In my case, it was champagne service.
Really? Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, I
That
bet.
was really tough. And I'm not sure what they do for the master som,
Yeah,
but it's
but
much more involved.
That's amazing.
But you are kind of role playing, you're the server and you have a master or sommelier sitting at your table while you're trying to open the bottle correctly, do the perfect pour. Just concentrate on that, but no, they're asking you questions about cocktails and food pairings and
Wow,
all
so
these
you're
other things.
multitasking
Yeah.
at that point. Well, there's only like 150 MSs around, right?
There's just under 200. It's very difficult. It
Yeah.
takes years and years, and not everyone passes the first time. I mean,
Right.
I'll be honest, I didn't pass my certified test on the first time.
Right.
I had to go back and brush up on the service. And the other part of it is a blind tasting.
Well, they say the MW is like an 8%
MW
pass.
is very difficult.
It's like an 8% pass rate.
Yeah,
the
very.
first time.
And I think it might even be harder.
Yeah,
It's,
it's hard.
But yeah, we had a master of wine on our trip too that I was just on to Argentina and Chile.
Which one?
Mary Orlin.
Don't know her.
She's based in New York City.
So here's this Garnacha,
Yeah.
which is some of the grape of the region, completely different wine from
very
a different region. This is from Carigna in Spain. The other one was from the south of France. But isn't that just? I just love this wine.
This is so fruity.
So fruity.
It's just the black fruit. It's
Soft.
It's juicy.
Which would lead you to think that, the aging potential of this wine, which doesn't have a lot of acid, would be, younger, 5 years maybe. It may not develop all that much. Whereas the Rhone version of the same kind of grapes, this one had a little more acid and probably has some more longevity to it. But that leads me to this segue, this incredible segue I just created,
Great.
which was,
Love that.
you wrote an article on winefashionista.com about aging wine in the ocean versus in a cellar.
Right.
And I remember that study when it happened, which was, a couple years ago?
Actually, well, there were studies, but this experiment actually started back in February.
Oh, just recently?
Just recently.
Wow.
Mira Winery, which is in Napa,
Right.
they wanted to do something different, and they kind of liked the idea of, I think recently they had read about some wine that had been discovered in a shipwreck, and they said,
That's right.
Maybe there's something to it. Why don't we try it? So they took 4 cases of their 2009 Cabernet Sauvignon, their Napa Valley label, and they put it under the water in Charleston Harbor, 60 feet below,
Isn't that amazing?
for 3 months. They designed these cages that would keep the wine kind of anchored to the bottom of the ocean floor. So divers obviously.
And you wrote they
had
couldn't
to go.
find it when they went back.
They couldn't find it immediately. They had kind of the surface GPS coordinates.
Right.
But,
Isn't that funny?
that's funny. But they found it. They did find
Okay,
it.
and so you tasted the wines. Now
So-
you're one of. It was intriguing that you were invited to be one of in 6 cities or something to get to
Right.
taste them.
Yeah, that was great. They had 15 people in each city, a mix of people in the wine industry, sommeliers, some writers, some people in the business, either retail shop owners or distributors, because they wanted to do a blind test between the wine that had been ocean aged and then the wine, the same vintage, same wine that had finished aging just in a dry cellar
Right.
on land. And would we see a difference? And that was really what they wanted to know, was there a
Right.
difference? And in every city they went to, pretty much everybody said there is a difference. I know, and
Okay, that's interesting to me.
yeah, there was a difference in color. Just looking at the glass on the counter, when we saw it, it didn't look too different, but when you held it up over a piece of white paper
Yeah.
and looked at the words, you could see kind of some of the words under the wine that turned out to be the land-aged wine. The wine that was ocean-aged was a little bit more opaque.
Wow.
And also the color to the rim was stronger on the ocean-aged wine versus the land-aged
That's
wine.
amazing.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, maybe this is different. The aromas were definitely different.
Yeah, that part I read. Yeah.
The one that was land-aged, I found it had a little greenness to it. The one that was ocean-aged was definitely more fruit-forward, more concentrated just seemed to be more open. The one that, and then on the palate too, it just, the tannins were bigger on the ocean age wine. They were
Isn't
just,
that interesting?
Yeah.
So you guys were talking about in the article about whether it's attributed to pressure.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's no light 60
no
feet
light.
deep. Maybe there's light
Right.
in the cellar conditions. Maybe there was vibration from the compressors. I don't know what.
Well, there's definitely vibration in the ocean because
Oh, yeah, 'cause moving
the
around.
ebb and
Ooh,
flow
that's
of the
interesting,
tide.
yeah.
So that may have had something to do with it. They're not, they're not 100% sure. They're doing another experiment. This time with 8 cases. It's a different vintage, so the results of the taste
The 8
and
cases,
flavors
but
will be
6
different.
months, I think they said they're going to do it 6
They're going
months.
to do it 6 months. So they're just kind of experimenting to see what happens and, if there's something to this. Now, they had said that, it's really not cost effective to age a whole production run of
No.
wine like that. But, they're going to kind of experiment with it and see.
You wonder if there's like this whole marketplace now. You go to the market, it'll say wines aged in the cellar and
Yeah.
wines, everybody's
Yeah.
got wines aged in the
Right.
ocean now.
Uh-huh.
With it. Something.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, they even came up with their own term called aqua, or it's kind of a play on terroir.
Oh, aqua, yeah, that's right, aqua, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, because, and I think it's a great experiment, really fun, and
Yeah.
would love to have the opportunity to taste them. But, often we get wines, even this Primera here we're going to taste now from Argentina, there's bottle variation amongst the bottlings,
sure.
And I suppose if you do enough samplings and you do enough, and you find a distinct difference, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. But, I went into that tasting kind of skeptical, like, is this just a marketing gimmick?
Yeah, right.
And, there was a difference, whether it's good or bad, and I actually liked the one that was ocean aged a little bit better, and so did the winemaker.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
It's just a great experiment,
Yeah, it's a
regardless,
great,
right?
and it's kind of a fun story.
Right, it is
Again,
a fun story.
fun with wine, why not?
Should be fun. One of the other articles about your travels was Chile, and one of my destinations here soon. And my first question, before we get into the wine part, and I asked this of all Chilean vendors that come, indigenous or not, people, I go, why, how, and who decided that Chile gets this little narrow strip all the way down the length of Central America, and Argentina gets this huge area, and clearly divided the top of the Andes,
Right.
but why? And I've gotten political answers, I've gotten religious answers, I haven't gotten an answer I buy yet.
Gosh,
Do you
I
know?
don't know.
You know that one?
I don't know.
Well, we have this.
But what's interesting about Chile is common wisdom was that there were differences. It was more important the north-south orientation, or as you went from north to south, that was the bigger influence on the grapes and the vineyards than east to west, or west to east, I should say, going from the Andes to the ocean. But they're finding now that there's a bigger variation and bigger influence of vineyards that are on the western side versus towards the ocean. So that is becoming more and more an important factor in where they're planting their varietals and the vineyards and all of that than it was north to south.
Well, that makes right
Sure.
climate,
Climate,
wind,
soil.
However, I think you would agree that Salto wines are distinctively different than wines grown toward the south of Mendoza.
Oh, absolutely.
There's major factors there.
Right.
This is. I don't know if I poured you a glass or not. Did I?
This is it.
Okay. This is one of our specials. This is 2005.
Wow.
And it sells for $40 at wine.com. We sell it for $19. The exact same vintage, exact same blend. Now, this is sort of a Bordeaux, blend. Is Malbec and Merlot, but this is one of the softer, more dynamic, more complex Chilean wines I've had. I just flipped over it. And the chance to offer it at such a substantial discount was great. You ever had a Urraca?
Fantastic. No, I haven't. So,
It's,
Mendoza.
who's the supplier? The importer is hard to read because my eyes are bad.
What's interesting, it's an 05, but it's still very fresh.
Yeah, it's very young still.
It has lots of fruit.
But I love, Malbec can have so many different flavors to it, and this
can.
one is more Bordeaux-like than the rest that we've had from there. And it's very interesting. People don't know that Malbec really is a Bordeaux varietal, but it's
Right.
become the darling of Argentina.
It has. It really has. It's found its home there. People are doing great things with it. It ages on its own really, really well. We had some beautiful wines from Catena 2000.
Oh, those are great
Malbec.
ones, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, very nice.
Well, actually, let me show you something. Here's this. I found these in this cellar I told you about. This is my dad featured the
Yes.
Gato Negro, which now is a mainstream wine, but this is the 1983.
Wow.
And it still has a little black cat on it.
That's cute.
Isn't that great? And then the Los Vascos,
Okay.
which I think this is the first vintage that Lafite made, or the
Okay,
company made.
right.
I think 87 was the last vintage of the old Los Vascos family. And so we tasted these recently,
Nice.
30 years after them, and still
Yeah.
incredibly sound.